Hello everybody, welcome to the Wonky Angle, where I talk about electronic music, both new and old. And today is a Patreon request from Skydiver. I'm talking about the 2002 album from Milky, Star. Alright, Milky is an Italian house outfit comprised of two guys who have the most stereotypical Italian names ever. Giordano Trivellato and Giuliano Sacchetto. Sorry for butchered pronunciations. Also featuring a singer who goes by the equally stereotypically Italian mononym Giuditta, and a model by the name of Sabrina Elal, who lip-synced over the singer in their music videos because that was a thing that Eurodance and house outfits did back in the day. But she apparently counts as like an official member of the band, so yeah. The two producers behind this outfit have been involved in like a bajillion different production groups and outfits from the early 90s through to around 2013-ish. Most of which have released like 1 to 2 songs each, and I could not be bothered to take a deeper dive into what they've accomplished over the years. But it seems this project is the one thing they're best known for, as not only does it come from the only outfit I found them involved with that released an actual full-length album, it also netted them a proper hit single called Just the Way You Are, that reached number 8 on the UK singles charts and number 1 on the US dance charts. That said, I really don't think it would be much of a stretch for me to just straight up call these guys one-hit wonders as a result. They had 2 more singles which are also on this album, In My Mind and Be My World, and both of them technically charted high enough to be called hits, but were nowhere near as successful, and they never released anything under this name again, aside from one sorta collab split single with Snap and 2NF called Mary Had a Little Boy, which I did not listen to. I guess working with the I Got the Power band is technically a point of interest, but as far as I could tell, this is the most successful endeavor that anyone involved in the project worked on. And it definitely sounds like an album from a one-hit wonder band. Just the Way You Are is a perfectly fine house track with its light and breezy acoustic guitars and cheery do-do-do-do-do-do-do hook going over a satisfyingly thick bass line and typical commercial house beat. It's ridiculously simplistic and offers little to nothing to analyze, and it is nowhere near in the same league of quality as the Paul McCartney track its lead melodies interpolated from Listen to What the Man Said. But neither does that sample feel on the nose or like a butchering of a classic. You're a lot more likely to mistake it for Tom's Diner than for McCartney. And it does have a very sincere and uplifting mood to it that makes it kind of impossible to get mad at. This track is someone's big nostalgia button, if not necessarily mine. But Star as a whole album shows a band who had one idea doing their absolute best to stretch that one idea out for 43 minutes and 12 tracks. And there's barely anything to break down here at all. It's not exactly the same track over and over 12 times, but enough of this album is directly copying the formula of their big hit to be openly distracting. A track like In My Mind, for instance, that may have like these kinds of Latin horn sections as an attempt to give it a different formula, but aside from that one element, it's near identical to their big hit, and the do-do-do vocals just keep showing up as the hook, which makes it seem even less original. And when the do-do-doos showed up again on Gold and I Will Find You, it made me audibly laugh. This time you're like, okay, this is starting to get pretty shameless. Even when they don't have do-do-do vocals like on Be My World or I Want You, it's still the same mix of house beats and acoustic guitars. And the former cut does show the singer pronouncing world like word and reminding me that English is likely not the first language of anyone involved here. As a side note, I really hope you weren't hoping for any breakdowns of the lyrics here. They're exactly as deep as you think they are. With that said, the consistently solid bass lines do partially forgive the repetitive shallowness of the album, and occasionally you'll even run into a cut like What Can I Do or Anytime, which still kinda hits for me even in spite of sounding like everything else. The former does have some kind of buzzing Tiesto-ish trance leads in the background, which were surprisingly refreshing when they came up, and the latter just had a more melancholy chord progression that happened to resonate more emotionally with me than most of this stuff did. Also, there were a few down-tempo moments to help break up the sound of the album, like Mystery of Love, Move Closer, Thinking of You, and How Much I Care. Move Closer even kind of borders on some kind of smooth jazz bossa nova kind of thing. That was pretty neat. and Thinking of You kind of reminds me of the girl from Ipanema. These tracks don't give me much more to analyze than anything else here, but they do prevent me from being able to say this album is literally the same song 12 times over. But that's about all I have to say about it from an individual track basis. I mean, as a whole, Star is a remarkably shallow listen. It's pure pop sugar with zero substance. It's a one-hit wonder outfit doing their best to turn their one hit into a full album and mostly just highlighting how one-dimensional they are. And it does become harder to recommend when a lot of this stuff reminds me of material from, say, this guy, Cascade. His first two albums, It's You, It's Me, and In the Moment, from a year or two after this, cover very similar territory, but feel much better varied and fleshed out, with more distinct hooks, as well as having way stronger nostalgia factor for me. Not much of a surprise to me that his career went on to have the long-term sustainability that these guys had, like, no chance of getting. But this album is absolutely not going to hurt anyone, and is certainly nothing to get mad at. I mean, everyone's gotta have some shallow pop music in their life, and even if I've heard better, I'd be lying if I said I derived no enjoyment from this at all. If you were there to see it when the big hit was relevant and have nostalgia for that time, it'll probably still deliver on that level. And if you're like me and didn't have that nostalgia factor, it's nothing you absolutely need to go out of your way for. So, yeah, this album's fine. It's perfectly fine. I'll give it a 6.3 out of 10. But of course, this is just my opinion. You can feel free to disagree with it, but I'd like to hear your thoughts, so leave the comments in the comment thing down there. Shout out to my Patreon supporters, they're awesome people. You want to add yourself to that list or make me review something, link to my Patreon is in the description. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all for today. See you next time.